All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. I appreciate everyone cutting some time out of their day to check out what we've been working on over at Xcelerate, a new exact analysis integration. I know some of the audience here is going to be customers. We also have a lot of prospects, maybe more wishing to learn a little bit more about how the integration works and a little bit about Xcelerate. So we've got a great webinar here prepared for you guys. Give us maybe just a minute to let people join and we'll get started. Thank you. All right, so it looks like people are still trickling in, but we'll probably kick things off. I'll run through the agenda for today, and then we'll get into it. So we'll open up with just a welcome and intro, explain a little bit about myself and Xcelerate. We're going to go to the exact analysis integration. Why did we build it? Who's it for? And then really a full demonstration of the integration. We'll also touch a little bit on Xcelerate as well, kind of how the integration is going to work with Xcelerate. Some of you guys might not be as familiar with Xcelerate, so we'll touch a little bit on the platform as well. And then we'll wrap up with some Q&A and any questions that you guys have at the end. So with that, a little bit about me. I'm the director of product at Xcelerate, and I live in Washington State, rainy Washington State. It's a little bit too rainy always up there, but I deal with it. I've got 5 years of experience in the restoration space inside of a contractor, service master contractor's office. And when I was there, we did a lot of insurance work. So TPA work, Service Master has insurance agreements directly. We did Contractor Connection, Sedgwick. So really all of the major carriers, the major TPAs, and XactAnalysis was required on most of that work. So I'm very familiar with what a contractor has to deal with as some of the, as work scales and as more of your business ends up being TPA work. Then after I worked at that Service Master for about 5 years, I joined Xcelerate in 2018 and have been there from the beginning. And Xcelerate's a job management system for restoration contractors to help operate their business profitably. So it's always been a major component of Xcelerate is that you can run a restoration shop and you can do it profitably. And so that's still a major pillar of Xcelerate even today. So a little bit about me. What is exact analysis? Most of you guys, if you're here, you know what exact analysis is, but just for anybody who's asking the question, it's a TPA and carrier hub used by third-party administrators and carriers to assign, manage, and track claims. There's a claims lifecycle management, tracks documentation through first notice of loss, job completion, all of that. There's a contractor communication component. You can update statuses, documents, milestones, and it is an industry standard product. So widely adopted by the industry as a whole. A lot of carriers require it. So it's here to stay. We don't really see it going anywhere for the long haul. So why did we build this? There's a lot of duplicate data entry. If you're running, a few jobs a month, you probably have no problem going into XactAnalysis and documenting that on your own. You might be able to do that even as a business owner or as a claims administrator. But as the volume goes up, as more of your work turns into TPA work, this becomes more of a challenge. And so duplicate data entry, information living in one system and not the other, that is really what this integration is meant to solve so that you can have your system of entry, system of record, which in this case would be Xcelerate, then that system of record can be what everyone documents, and then you can very seamlessly get that information copied into XactAnalysis to update the insurance or the carrier or the TPA. You can also do it much much faster. So you can do it in real time or closer to real time, your choice on those things. But you can get that information over much, much quicker. And so this helps with TPAs, especially. They have SLAs. You guys make agreements that you're going to do things in a certain amount of time. I'm sure if you've gone to some of these awards shows and whatnot, you're going to see that like the SLAs are all about timeliness. And so for you to stay up on your timeliness, as crazy as it sounds, that you need a system that helps you do that. And this allows you to sync that information to the platform accurately and timely. And then there's also just disconnected workflows, asking a technician or somebody to log into a different system, asking your office administrators to log into multiple systems creates friction. And so this allows them to operate in one system and then keep the other systems in sync. And for anybody already using Xcelerate for their job management for their day-to-day, this just makes that whole XactAnalysis process easy because the information's already there. You can just basically click a couple buttons and have it automatically sync to the platform. So that's kind of the reason we built it. Who is it for? It's going to be any restoration contractors doing a considerable amount of TPA or carrier work. You can use it even if you're doing one job. It's just not going to be quite as impactful because the cost isn't quite as impactful at that time. It really scales with the amount of volume that you're doing. And so the contractors who value the integration most are going to be those who have a decent amount of their work being in the TPAs and the carriers, and then having multiple different carriers who have different requirements. This allows you a standard platform to get that information over. Also, just any person in your business responsible for updating the claim in XactAnalysis. Sometimes it's a project manager, sometimes it's a coordinator, sometimes it's admin staff, sometimes it's the owner. It really just depends, but anyone who's fulfilling that role at your organization, this is an integration that will help you. You have your technicians out on the field, they're capturing photos, they're putting in notes, they're putting in milestones, they're filling out forms. Some of all of this information can now flow directly into XactAnalysis. And then finally, any interested party, business owner, ops leader who wants to ensure that their team is on top of XactAnalysis, this is the integration that will help you accomplish that. So that's a quick kind of overview about the XactAnalysis integration, why we built it, what the value kind of is. We'll jump into how it actually looks in our platform. So let's see. Okay. So I'm going to start here at the very top. So I'm in Xcelerate right now. For some of you, this may be the first time you're seeing Xcelerate because I know not everybody on this call is an Xcelerate customer. And so just a quick run through about Xcelerate so that we can kind of understand how this connects to the XactAnalysis piece. So Xcelerate is going to be where you're entering in your jobs. And so one of the ways that we've broken out Xcelerate is you have master jobs and then you have files. And what a master job and a file looks like is think of it as your overall insurance, like claim, overall master loss, and then you have multiple different divisions of work. So this is the master job. You have your water, you have your recon, your rebuild. So this matches very well with what happens with XactAnalysis, where you're going to get a mitigation assignment, and then you're going to get potentially a rebuild assignment, and maybe even a remediation or mold assignment. And so the way that Xcelerate was always structured is it would break it out by the service offering. And then the way that we structured the integration was that you can map them to those various different what we call job files. So we call it a master job, and then the job files are really those sub jobs within the system. And so inside of each sub job, we are going to have our own pictures, our own forms, our own notes, our own documents, own financials, all of that information. And so when we're linking an assignment, an XactAnalysis assignment, it's going to be linked to one of these job files, one of these sub jobs. And so I'm going to take you to the opportunities screen here. where this is essentially a list of what we would consider external leads. So we have, you could potentially have leads from your website. They will show up here automatically. You could have leads coming from other stakeholders. You could have property managers filling out forms for you, and then they will send leads over. Any external lead that you have will show up in this list, and you can basically process that and turn it into a job. So in this case, I have an assignment here that I received from XactAnalysis, and I need to turn it into a job. Now, maybe in this case, this assignment is for an already existing job where we've done the MIT, but we also now just need to add it to the rebuild. So we can add, at this point, we can link it to the rebuild job that we already have created. We can create a new job file based on an existing master job, or we can start from scratch because this actually is a first notice of loss. And so you have multiple different options on how you link it to a particular job within our platform. But in addition to going to essentially this external leads screen, we also have our job list screen as well. And so if we were to go to this job list screen, you have all sorts of information, financial information, milestones, timelines, and whatnot, budget information here. And all of this is customizable to your particular profile. So if you're a user, you can decide which columns are going to be relevant to this particular role. But in this case, I'm just going to open up here and add XactAnalysis. And this basically tells me which claims or which jobs here have an associated assignment. And you can see most of my work is not assignment driven, but here we have one. And if I received a new assignment here, you can see that there's the 1 badge. That's the new assignment I've received that I've not linked to a job. So this should really not be showing up as 1 if I've got all of my assignments mapped to a job. But in some cases, they're not mapped. And so I've got to take action on this one right here. And I can click on, let's say this is the job. I can map it to this one right here because I can find it through my list here. So there's multiple different ways you can go about mapping the job to the assignment through the Xcelerate platform. So you basically can create the new job, you can link it to an existing job and create a sub job, or you can link it to a job and a sub job. All 3 of those options are kind of the first step. Now, once we've got it linked to the job, let's say here we have a job, this is now linked. Here's my job information from Xcelerate. So what does it look like for me to be able to interact with XactAnalysis? How do we have the information flow? So one of the first things you'll see is we have pictures. Now our technicians may be taking photos on Encircle. They may be taking photos on Company Cam. They may be taking photos in Xcelerate. We are a platform that is not mandating how you have to do the job. Ultimately, whatever your business prefers in regards to photos is something that we're willing to integrate, and we're open to collecting that information. And then you will have a way to look at all those photos and to sync them to XactAnalysis. So in this case, I would click on the send to XactAnalysis. You can see some of these have already been sent, and so I can't select them anymore because they were already sent. But I can deselect entire albums. I can deselect whichever photos I want, and then I can send those to XactAnalysis. And this will just process whichever photos I've selected and send them over to XactAnalysis. So from a picture standpoint, that's one of the easiest ways to get your photos over to XactAnalysis. If I click on this XactAnalysis icon here, there's a couple things I can do. For when I was at ServiceMaster, we very often got assignments and we linked them to jobs and then found out we had to link it to a different job or it was linked to the wrong job. So we've definitely taken all of that into consideration. If a mistake was made or you need to link it to a different job, you can break this connection and link it to the new connection. So that's one thing you can do. Also, there's the open claim in XactAnalysis, and this will just directly open up that claim so you can see basically what it looks like based on the documentation that you've done. So we've looked at the pictures, we've got the XactAnalysis. Now, notes are kind of the lifeblood of Xcelerate. You're going to be adding notes manually into the system. You're going to be adding notes via forms into the system. And so you're going to end up having basically a trail of information about the job, the historical record, when it started, all of the different players, all the different technicians who have interacted with this job. And so one of the things we didn't want to do is just unilaterally start sending all this information to XactAnalysis for a ton of reasons. The first is we want to protect the contractor, and we don't want to expose them to any potential risk by somebody saying something and it getting uploaded into XactAnalysis. This has been one of the big concerns always from all of the business owners that we talk to. So we want to make sure that it was very much something you guys control. And so you're able to select your notes and send them here to XactAnalysis. Also, if you're writing a note, you can just check the box and send it to XactAnalysis as well. And we do have email functionality where you're able to add a note and send an email at the same time. And so in this capacity, you can send an email to an adjuster and make sure that it's also tracked into XactAnalysis to provide that stamp to say, look, I did talk to the adjuster right here. And as you can see on the left-hand side, if the adjuster, or in this case, the insurance agent, was already associated on the job, all you have to do is check that box, and there, Jake at State Farm's getting the email. Here's my message, and it's going into XactAnalysis. There's no question about when this happened, and that I did, provide this communication at the time. So notes are going to be a big thing, but we also, of course, have documents. And so here you can see which documents have synced. And if I need to sync a different document, I can select it and sync that to XactAnalysis as well. And then the other item that we have is going to be your milestones. So one of the things that we have within our platform, which helps fill out a lot of the milestones, is going to be our workflow system. Our workflow system will recognize when certain events are occurring and mark dates based on kind of analyzing your job and identifying, for instance, if you got your contract signed, it's just going to automatically put that date here. When we've started work, when we've completed work, you're going to get a kind of a timestamp when those actions occurred. Of course, you can also just manually mark those milestones here. But one of the things we didn't do, going back to the same recipe, we don't want to unilaterally just sync dates immediately. We want you to be in control. And some of the integrations we've seen other systems out there do is they're very much focused on getting maybe the information into XactAnalysis immediately with no control. And so sometimes that can actually make things look a lot worse than they really are. So what you're able to do with our XactAnalysis milestones here is we have our timestamps that are put in here. You can check those timestamps and then sync it over to XactAnalysis. And so this actually allows you to backdate some of those dates in the event that maybe you did, like a classic example, you contacted the customer and you did that on, in this case, the 11th, but the assignment didn't come in until the 15th. So now you have to click a button immediately to try to say that you did it as soon as you did, or you're out of compliance. Well, not with Xcelerate. You're going to say, sorry, guys, the delay wasn't on our end. We actually contacted the customer on the 11th and send that date over to XactAnalysis, which of course gives you the much better score because it's in real time accurate to when you did contact the customer, and not again, which is, oh, we didn't send you the assignment and now you got to go click a button within X amount of time or else. And so that's just, that's something that we've definitely seen as a pattern. We wanted to make sure that that you guys have the control to put in accurate timestamps on when you really were out at a job site, or you contacted the customer, or whatever it is. We wanted to make sure you had the controls to do that. So that's kind of the notes, the documents, the pictures, and the milestones, and the way that all of those things sync. Now, more in a real world example here, I did want to share. Let me pull up my my mobile app real quick, because what really happens on a day-to-day for a technician, they're going to be utilizing the mobile app. And so this is that same job. We've got the McFarland job, and they're going to be out here taking pictures. Here's all my pictures. They may be writing notes. And so in this case, look at this note, right? Not only did I fill out the note, and it documents kind of all of this information, but there's also a kind of a quote that we provided as a document. And so all of this information, whether it's the notes, the documents that's being done in the field, these are the exact pieces of information that you're going to be able to sync through the integration. Another example would be, okay, we've got an invoice here. We've written it in Xcelerate. We want to send the invoice. Maybe you don't even want to send a particular estimate or whatnot. You want to send the invoice to process it or whatnot. You have the ability to take these invoices and sync those as well. And so you can generate some of this on the mobile app right here. You can also fill out forms on the mobile app and then have those synced as well. So all of the information that the technicians are doing every day out in the field, these are the pieces of information that can sync back into XactAnalysis via the integration. So let me jump over to just see if anybody's got any questions here so far. Looks like, is it echoing for anyone else? Yeah, so Tanya, probably the room I'm in. I also have somewhat of a booming voice. So I'm guessing that there's some echo with just the drywall, unfortunately. The microphone may not have any echo detection. I apologize for that. But hopefully you guys could at least hear some of the things I was saying. So we've got a question from Alex. When will the opportunities tab be available? Okay, this must be probably for a customer. So this opportunities tab is actually just something we need to turn on for you. If you don't see it, then we can just turn it on. It's available to anybody. I will say it started its life as a franchisor dynamic where franchisors would send opportunities to franchisees. Sorry. And that was really kind of how it was originally built, but then it expanded into a lot of other external leads. So if you're wanting to have the opportunities tab added for you, then we can just get it turned on. Just reach out to us and we'll get it added. And then, yeah, you'll see it there. Okay. Let me see if there are any other questions. I'm not seeing any more right now. So at the end of the day, what's kind of the overall impact that the XactAnalysis integration is really meant to provide? It's supposed to you're going to save time on duplicate entry, stop rekeying data into two platforms. It really improve your TPA compliance. Going to help stay up to date with just very few button presses, and that'll protect those relationships, especially with TPAs and carriers and whatnot. And then just faster delivery of information, faster processing of all of it, so that there's better compliance overall. So that kind of covers really what we were planning on touching on today. I know we had blocked out a whole hour for this webinar, but I think that was just to preserve the time slot. I think we really didn't have all of that planned to be utilized. Now, I will say there's a couple things that we want to ask. So the first thing that we want to make sure we get from you guys is we're going to ask a poll here, which is, are you interested in adding the XactAnalysis integration in your business? So is this something that makes sense to you, for you as a restoration contractor? And it's just yes or not right now. So go ahead and fill that one out. And then we'll open it up really for any other Q&A. And I'll put my information here as well at the end. So if you want to reach out to me directly, if you have other questions that maybe you don't feel comfortable asking on this panel, that's fine. You can just reach out to me directly. But yeah, are there any other questions? Let me see. I've got the chat. Maybe I do have Q&A over here. Okay. So I've got an anonymous attendee asking, are you able to re-show what link we are to take from XactAnalysis and how we add that to an existing job in Xcelerate that does not have the link yet? Able to re-show what link we are to take from XactAnalysis and how we add that to an existing job in Xcelerate. So yeah, I think so. Yeah. So let's go back over here. Basically, in XactAnalysis, the way that it'll work is you have a couple options. Inside of the setup, you're going to be able to turn on whether it's automatic or manual. If it's manual, you are going to have to go into an assignment itself and send it over to Xcelerate. And so let me just pull up this particular one. You would go, there's an export button here, and you would click on that and click go, and that will export it into Xcelerate, and it will then show up in, jumping around here, in this list. And so that's actually what I did on this particular one. I went in there and exported it manually. Our recommended strategy is that you just turn it on for all of them and they'll just show up here. But that is where you would then show that information. If you need to know more information about what job it is, you can always click on it right here and it will open up that claim directly. And so then you can get more information about it. And then this accept is where you're going to take it and sync it to a particular job. So if I click new file, new job, this takes me to the new job entry screen where I'm basically keying everything in to fill out the completion of the job. If I do not do that, and I'm not basically doing what's known as first notice of loss, because this is not first notice of loss, I already was notified, I just need to link it to an existing, I would have a couple options. So in this case, I'm going to look at all my master jobs, and let's say it's this Catalan job, and then I'm going to save onto the Catalan job, but now I'm going to pick that it's a mold, and so I save it. And in this case, now what I'm doing is I'm adding a new mold or remediation sub-job for this particular master job. The final option, though, would be that I've already created the sub-job of a mold, let's say, and I just need to actually select it. And in that case, I would accept link to existing job file, and I would find the actual sub-job, select that, and link it. And then it's already linked all the way to the sub-job itself. Then I got a couple other questions. So Alex, is there a cost involved with sending assignments from Xact to Xcelerate? So yeah, there is some pricing that we will have to discuss for the XactAnalysis integration. So definitely, if you're interested, reach out. We can show you kind of how that looks. We've got packages, pricing packages and whatnot to kind of go over for that. Got Zeke, can you go over the work orders? Also, can you capture signatures on forms in the app? I don't think we're going to go into a full depth dive for work orders right now, but I could probably just jump in and show you real quick. Yes, you can generate work orders like this, and they will be a PDF document where you can share with your sub. There's going to be scope. There will be photos that you can essentially capture. So when you're generating your work order, you can pick from the photos, you can add attached documents, and also include the scope from Xactimate and the sketch from Xactimate, and then generate a PDF. Now, this PDF can be sent to XactAnalysis if you would like to kind of show that. I don't know if that's really what you're driving at there, but ultimately you'll break down the work orders. based on the category of work in Xactimate, and it'll give you a budget percent, and you can kind of adjust some of those things as you move on. But all those line items for, in this case, WTR, you can see are kind of tucked under that WTR work order. And then you can assign it to a sub if you'd like, or maybe you have work orders that are internal. Zeke, on the question of whether you can capture signatures on forms in the app, the answer is yes, you can. I'll show you real quick. I'll jump back over to the mobile app to show you that. Let's see here. So if I go to forms here, we've got like 1 million forms. So your list will probably look a little bit different than this, but let me just look for a work off. Let's go right here. So I can send it to the customer via email, or I can just complete it here if I have the customer in front of me, and we can fill out all of these things, whatever it is. And if you have your own custom documents as well, you can get those brought into the platform and have them signed, and then those can be synced directly over to XactAnalysis. All right, David, can you explain how Xcelerate differentiates itself from Alacrity, especially since Alacrity is often involved on the program and claims administration side? Well, Xcelerate is job management software built for restoration contractors to run their business. Alacrity would be a third-party administrator who kind of acts as an intermediary between insurance carriers and contractors, and they have a list of contractors who have signed up for utilizing their network to receive jobs. So we are not a claim distribution network. We're a software company, and our primary goal is to build software that helps restoration contractors run profitable businesses. Their primary goals, I think we could probably look it up, but I think Alacrity's primary goals would be something about distributing, claims for insurance carriers to licensed and registered contractors who have been approved. That's their goal, and it's just a very different, mission than what we're setting out to do. But great questions. Okay, I'm going to put my contact info up because I think I've just got Xcelerate sitting up there. We're at a little over 30 minutes in. So I think for now, that's pretty much the content we wanted to cover. I want to thank everybody for taking out time to check out the integration. We've been hard at work for it. We're going to continue to improve it. We're going to continue to, listen to feedback from customers. So we'd love you to be a part of that group. Get your feedback in, help improve Xcelerate, help improve the integration. Would love to hear from you guys. Please reach out and talk to us. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.